Welcome to the Sustainable Clinical Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Sarah Smith. I am a practicing rural family physician and the charting coach. This is the podcast for physicians and advanced practice providers who are ready to step back from the busyness of their clinical day to share ideas, question everything, and redesign their clinical day. We are redesigning clinical medicine to create sustainable clinical days and create time for our lives outside of medicine. Join us for discussions with world experts who are helping design sustainable models of clinical medicine and the physicians or clinicians who have discovered or designed sustainable models of clinical medicine for themselves. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening in. And I wanted to let you know about an offer I have on right now. We are celebrating the Smarter Charting program becoming lifetime access, and we are celebrating summer. So right now until July 6th, 2024, you can use the coupon code Hot Summer at the checkout to get our biggest discount for this summer off the programs Charting Champions or Smarter Charting. Thank you so much for listening in. Enjoy the next episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today we have with us Dr. Robyn Tiger, who is going to walk us through some of her journey and how she's helping physicians now. So welcome, Robyn. Let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Sarah. It's really, really an honor to be here. And yeah, so wow, how did I get here? Well, first of all, who am I? My name actually is Tiger. We were just talking about that. So I married a tiger and we have tiger cubs. We have two young adult children. And I am a double board certified physician in diagnostic radiology and lifestyle medicine and the founder of Stress Free MD, which is a practice that focuses on elevating the health and well-being of the whole physician. The whole physician meaning all layers: body, mind, spirit, emotionally, psychologically, the soul, physically, you name it. And how did I get here? Like, how did I decide to even pivot and start to do this work? Really came from my own journey. And that journey brought me to what I like to call myself as a burnout thriver. And I'd say probably about 15, 20 years ago, I started to notice that I was having some symptoms and they seemed really disconnected. And I was working as a radiologist. I had two little kids at the time, a great husband. On the outside, everything looked perfect. I had a beautiful home, a job. It looked like the American dream, as we say here. But on the inside, I was actually crumbling and circling the drain. And all these symptoms, as I described them, didn't come all at once. They came over time. And as I mentioned them, as you listen, those of you listening, think about if you experience any of these: migraines with vomiting, vertigo, tinnitus, body pain, extreme tension, um, horrible gastroesophageal reflux with burning chest pain, poor digestion. Anything I ate caused my stomach, my abdomen to distend and cause a lot of pain. Bowel habits all over the place, constipation, diarrhea, you name it, I never knew what was coming. Spontaneously bleeding gums. What does that have to do with anything, right? Everything seemed disconnected. Terrifying symptom of intermittent paresthesias, where I would lose sensation in my hands, my feet, and the left side of my back. And hands were particularly worrisome, especially when I'm in the middle of a breast biopsy holding that biopsy gun and I can't pull the trigger on the gun because I can't feel my hands. Cutting up vegetables, I'd lose sensation in my hands. Driving a car, I'd lose sensation of the steering wheel. So that was the most terrifying of all the symptoms. And of course, as physicians, what do we think? The worst? We have a debilitating neurologic disease, right? Because that was what I convinced myself that I had. Other things that were going on was I was extremely stressed and anxious. I was extremely reactive, saying things I wish I could take back, doing things I wish I could take back. I was exhausted. I would wake up every morning counting the minutes till I could get back in bed and go back to sleep. And I just didn't understand what was going on. I started to see lots of specialists, neurologists, gastroenterologists, periodontists, you name it. I got a lot of medications, as we say, a pill for an ill. So every symptom I described got a pill, had a pile of pills I was taking every day. Wasn't feeling better. Had lots of lab tests. They were all negative. Lots of imaging. So radiologist, you can imagine, everything was normal. And then I started to have some really, really scary thoughts. Scary thoughts like, I don't really know if I could take another day like this. And I don't really know if I want to be here anymore. Which, as I'm saying those words, it's just really, really terrifying to hear. But I actually felt that way. And I had lost 3 physician friends to suicide. And I saw myself heading in that direction. I really didn't know which way to turn. I felt like I was doing things that I thought were healthy. I was eating what I thought was a relatively healthy diet at the time. I was exercising. You know, what else am I supposed to be doing? But physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, I was a mess. And I did do all types of therapy: PT, OT, chiropractor, massage therapy. I had a mental health care professional. Between that and all the pills, nothing was making me better. And I was just getting worse. And so seeing this fork in the road, recognizing that I was heading in the path of my colleagues and not wanting to do that, I decided to take a look outside of traditional Western medicine, which I completely believe in. I am a Western trained physician, but I recognized that it wasn't enough. It wasn't what I needed. And we had exhausted those possibilities. So I started to look outside the box of traditional Western medicine. And that's when I started to hear about other things like yoga and meditation to start, which, Sarah, I mean, a lot of people might be listening and doing some eye rolling. And I did a lot of eye rolling. I was a gym rat. And those things were for those really weird people who were down the hall in that room with the door closed, wearing lots of spandex, listening to strange music, turning their body into like really weird positions, right? Because that's what I thought they were doing. But I kept seeing this advertisement for Yoga 101, this 5-week series down the road from my home, and it was being taught by an anthropology professor at the local university. So that gave my left brain some authenticity, credibility to hang on. It wasn't just some Molly Moonbeam person. And I finally signed up because I didn't know what else to do. And I remember that day so clearly. I read umpteen number of cases. I can't tell you how many biopsies and procedures I did. I got home. I fed my kids. I bathed my kids. I handed my kids off to my husband. And exhausted, with one eye open and eye rolling, I drove to the studio for this very first session, head down, not making eye contact, wondering the whole time what I'm doing, wasting my time. And after that session, I felt calm, I felt grounded, I felt clear, and I wasn't tired. My body didn't hurt, and it was like brain explosion, like what just happened? And that was my first inkling into what I was experiencing as I went home and started to dive into the medical literature, because that's what we do. And what I came to understand was that the diagnosis that everyone missed, including me until now, was a whopping case of chronic stress.
Mhm.
And as I continued to take these classes, and we can talk some more about the progression and how that evolved, all of the symptoms that I described to you went away. Everything, including the paresthesias, as well as the dark thoughts.
That's interesting. it sounds like you had at this stage, had you added the lifestyle medicine? Was that part of what you'd already done? No. Okay. So right now, diagnostic, interventional radiology, and you're not enjoying it. You've got colleagues who have had significantly bad outcomes, right? And lost them. And so now you're in that process of grief as well, I'm going to add, presumably. And then your physical symptoms. What did your doctors say when you were going for these tests and they were coming back normal and you weren't responding to treatment? What were they kind of saying could be the problem? Did they recognize it?
No, just shrugging their shoulders. GE reflux, take this pill. Paresthesias, well, your MRI is normal. Don't worry, you don't have a tumor. Take this pill. Can't sleep, try this pill. Your body hurts, try this pill or do this therapy. No matter
Okay.
what, your gums were bleeding. I kept getting antibiotics injected into my gums from the periodontist who insisted I had inflammation and some sort of, you know, infection. Um, we
That
we
doesn't
as
sound very
physicians are,
comfortable.
yeah, no, it was pretty horrible. But we are taught to focus on a symptom. And in Western medicine, we are a disease management system. So we are focusing on a symptom, and we are not taught traditionally to see the whole picture. And instead of saying, take this, you'll feel better, it's why are you feeling that way? Why is that happening? And that is the difference when we can get into what lifestyle medicine is working from the opposite end of the spectrum and getting to the root cause of what your symptoms are arising from.
Interesting. So you headed to yoga. What was
Mhm.
husband saying about this idea at the end of this busy, crazy day, little kid, and you're off to drive somewhere else? Well, any
He
ideas what he was?
Well, he's incredibly supportive and is a man of few words, but he just wanted me to get better. And we hadn't
Mm,
even really discussed what was going on. When something is happening to you over several years on a continuum, it's not that all these symptoms were handed to me one day.
mm,
It was just one after the next. You can't really see it. It's hard to actually see it as one entity, especially
mm,
when they seem really disconnected. But he was, go for it. He was totally supportive. And um, I was shocked. I was shocked to feel better without any meds or therapy. And that's when I started to have an inkling that my cortisol levels must have been through the roof. My inflammation, cytokines were probably, way high through my body. And that the symptoms I was experiencing were being caused by all of this inflammation and all of this
mm.
chronic stress. And
Yeah.
as I continued to take classes, and then what do we do as physicians? We are lifelong learners. And so I decided to go into teacher training for yoga, never thinking I'd teach another human in my life because I wanted to understand more.
Mhm.
And it was there that I learned about the field of yoga therapy. So, for those of you listening, yoga teacher training is about a 200-hour certification, but yoga therapy is at least 1,000 hours over 3 years. And it allows you to doctor in a different way. It allows you to take the concepts and apply them to many different types of symptoms, illnesses, and diseases. And that got me really excited to think that I could help others more deeply than I was already. And it was there that I learned about meditation. And so I became certified in a specific type of meditation called I-Rest, which was created for our military initially to help with PTSD. And that
Mhm.
was another 3 years. And so what I began doing was studying more deeply the things that were helping me and teaching others as I was learning all along. And that was mostly body based tools until I decided that I needed to start working more with my thoughts. And that's where the coaching came in. And so I went into a coaching program and I had this unbelievable transformation continue, being able to understand how to work with my thoughts and how our brains work. And what do we do as physicians? We're lifelong learners. I went and became certified as a coach. And so I put the body based work and the mindset work together to continue to help educate what was helping me in even a more whole approach to well-being.
Mm. I was curious. You hadn't. So you had this. These symptoms started, and you were in this stress position, and I heard you kind of saying, like, you kept saying that I don't know if I can keep going like this. I don't know if I can do another day like this. Do you think that was like, if you heard yourself say that again, would you would that be a trigger for you to kind of be, oh, I'm onto myself? I've been here before, like that. How do we get awareness that this is happening? Because you were like physical symptoms, off to the doctor, having tests, like you weren't stepping back and being curious about the hours, the level of stress, how much sleep you were getting. There's that how do we start to pay attention to or be aware of ourselves?
Yeah, so I think that each of us are basically in our own laboratory,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're scientists evaluating ourselves all the time. And so that statement about not wanting to spend another day like this is really the end statement, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the rock bottom, can't get worse than this statement. Because of all the work I've done on myself and all the studying I've done, including somatics and trauma informed trainings, I am much more in tune with my body and mind. And so when I get a tiny little tap on my shoulder, whether it be a symptom physically or a thought, an intrusive thought, I am aware now. Aha. Okay. Hello, body. Hello, thought. I know what to do now. I feel you. I see you. I hear you. And I can take care of you because you are not me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When you're working with physicians, you mentioned that trauma informed approach. What are the what are the outward appearances of trauma for the physicians who come to you? What are you noticing about them if they're expressing trauma, or if you're noticing the stories that could include this trauma experience? But what are they looking like in the workplace or at home? What do you kind of observe?
I think there's conscious and unconscious trauma. So, what I mean by that is some will specifically tell me what happened, whether
Hmm.
it's a trauma from work, a case gone bad, being mistreated, or it's a trauma in their life, or it's a
Hmm.
trauma that's related to what's going on in the world, politically, in other countries. Maybe it's something from the past. Sometimes that's totally conscious, comes right out of their mouth, they describe it. Other
Hmm.
times it's subconscious and I may not be aware. And actually, whether it's conscious or subconscious, being able to create that container where they can feel safe is what is most important. I assume that every single person I come in contact in my life has had some sort of trauma. And I try to create that safe container, that container where they can feel safe, where they can verbalize, where they can move their bodies, where they can share in a way that they feel safe doing so.
Hmm. Is it um is it always, does it always look like withdrawal? Does it look like that isolation piece? What are we noticing if we were to observe like our colleagues or our friends who are going through a bad time? What do you tend to see on the outside from them, or how they might interact with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's also where that lifestyle medicine piece comes in, where we can talk about what I'll see is poor behaviors. So they might be overeating or eating the wrong foods, over drinking, overdoing drugs, over purchasing, over scrolling on the internet, right? Some are gambling. It's really over anything, over exercising, which actually was what I used to do.
Hmm.
Doing things escapes to not feel the feeling that they don't want to feel, the emotion they don't want to have. Or the opposite is withdrawing, hiding, not doing. So we have actions that are dangerous, behavior choices that are really dangerous to health and well being. And then we have inaction, which is that withdrawal, that hiding, that lack of connection with others and themselves. So it can show itself in two different ways.
Mm. Interesting. And do you feel like there's some kind of, I don't feel like myself, or "W- that's not me," or that's the kind of those sort of inklings early on?
I think that's more of of a little bit later for most,
Hmm.
having that aha moment. Like me, you might have some symptoms that you can't really explain, or some thoughts that are, coming up, or you're super reactive, right? I think that there's that putting it together where you're like, wow, this really isn't me. I don't even recognize myself anymore. Who am I? Right? And so I don't think that's the first thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think we lead up to that realization. And when that realization happens is when most people are reaching out for help. And then the thing is that they say is, I wish I had met you earlier. Right. But we can't see these disconnected things
Mm.
as one conglomerate right away. Lots of times it's one day you're like, who am I? You look in the
Mm.
mirror, you don't even recognize yourself. Or maybe it's somebody who is your mirror who's telling you, hey, you know, you're not okay. You need some help. What's going on? Right? So
Mm.
sometimes it takes another person in your life, a friend, a family member, a colleague that is your mirror as well, whether it's you seeing yourself in the mirror or whether it's someone else.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. Important to be connected then, if we've got that difficulty seeing it for ourselves potentially, and then if we have that statement coming up, "I wish I'd found you earlier. I wish I didn't have to get this bad. I can't believe I got here again." Like, if that's sort of the story you're hearing on your end, it'd be nice to have had somebody in their world earlier to say, "Hey, you don't look like you," or "How are you?" or those deeper ability to poke and prod a little bit more than the surface.
Yeah. And besides finding me or another person to help earlier, it's the education. It's, I wish I had the education that you're sharing with me now earlier. So
Mm.
that's how we get into, you know, why why isn't education on how to take care of yourself part of the infrastructure of our medical system from day one of medical school? That would be incredible. And that is really where we are now. So we have a spectrum. I'm either helping people because they're suffering, and then I'm helping people because some people are reaching out saying, hey, will you come in and educate our students now? So, which is so
Mm.
exciting, right? To be able
It is
to, I
exciting.
call them our seedlings, right?
Mhm.
So, our seedlings, educating them now when they're so young in their 20s on how to take care of themselves. And then they can help others do the same. The ripple effect is incredible.
Mm. Tell us more about the I rest meditation. Why is meditation important? What did it add, or what do you expect it to add in to be helpful?
Yeah, so most people that don't know about meditation think again things like you have to sit in a really uncomfortable position for long periods of time, quiet with your thoughts. I can't do that, right? I used to think that. It doesn't have to be that at all. And there are many different types of meditation. One is silent. And to be honest, I have trouble with that, right? I have trouble with that meditate type of meditation, and it's okay. You don't have to sit silently with your thoughts. You can be guided by others, like me or someone else, and have us in your ears guiding you. So that myth is being busted right now. And it doesn't have to take a really long period of time. It could take a matter of seconds or half an hour or an hour, whatever you have. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. So that's myth busting number two. In terms of
Mhm.
iRest, little I, big R, like the iPhone, it was
Mhm.
created around the time that the iPhone was coming to be, which is how it got its name. And our military here in the US at Walter Reed Army Hospital in DC asked the founder of iRest, who's a psychologist and a yoga scholar, to create something to help our military relieve their suffering from post traumatic stress disorder. We like to call it post traumatic growth now, but
Mhm.
PTSD for in general for those of you listening. And he said, you can't call it anything that they're not going to want to do. Like it can't be meditation, it can't be yoga, it can't be you have to come up with a different name.
Mhm.
So we know the importance of semantics, and they came up with I rest because who wouldn't want to rest, right? And I rest meditation is based on traditional yoga nidra. That is a 6,000 year old type of meditation, which is about inquiry. It's asking you certain questions. It's not implanting thoughts in your brain, which is why it makes it trauma informed. If you say to somebody, imagine you're floating on the water, well, for some people, that's really peaceful. But if someone had a near drowning experience or knows somebody that did or is terrified of the water,
Mm.
you can imagine how that would impact them. So, with this
Mm.
type of meditation, you're actually inquiring. Think about a blank. What feeling are you having now? What emotion? What sensation? And so on. And so you're inviting the person that is participating in the meditation to invite in whatever they want. And you're not imposing potentially traumatic activating thoughts on them. So it's
Mm.
very trauma informed. It's very secular. So there's no religion, there's nothing other than just regular words, regular language
Mhm.
being included. And it weaves in some important psychotherapy concepts because it was created by a psychologist to not only help us recognize our thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, sensations, but to process them. And that's what also makes this meditation very different. Lots of other meditations make you aware that you are feeling something, you are thinking something, you have a belief, you have a sensation. But then what? Okay, anger's here. Well, we need to process that anger. So, this meditation has a series of steps that not only have you recognize what's going on, but to help process it. And it was found to be so effective for not only relieving the suffering of post traumatic stress, but relieving chronic pain, because most of the chronic pain in our body is from our thoughts causing tension in our bodies, aside of any past trauma, that the Department of Defense in the US has declared this meditation a tier 1 treatment for chronic pain,
Mm.
basically equivalent to taking pain meds, taking opioids, which is unbelievable.
Mm.
So it is being used throughout all the military active and those throughout the um, veterans hospitals and those that are civilian life now as an incredible healing modality. And I use it across all my modalities, all of the different types of populations that I've worked with and continue to work with, and have found it to be really, really effective um, and
Mm.
pretty transformative.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm so excited about that tier 1 level because I'm like, "That's fun." Like, it's got some decent change, like, it's demonstrating significant change for the participants, so wow, that's pretty cool. Tell us about lifestyle medicine. What did that involve? How long does it take? Where did you study it? What did that look like?
Yeah, so I originally was in Northeast US and I moved to Asheville, North Carolina about 5 years ago. And I reached out to our local medical society and I really wanted to help our local physicians, and their medical society also has PAs. And the CEO welcomed me with open arms and said, "We'd love to have you. We have a Healthy Healer program partnership where we create programs for our members. We'd love for you to be a part of that. Stress is such a huge issue and is of epidemic proportions. And I want you to come to our annual event." And I was like, "Wow, that's so great. I'm so excited that you're so excited about my being here." So I went to this annual event and I started walking around and talking to some people and feeling very out of place. Because here we have all these doctors that work with each other and I am just this, who am I? I'm just this person and nobody knows me and I keep trying to say hello until I came upon this one physician, right? By the way, I was in full disclosure, I was in the bathroom texting my husband saying, "I don't know if I should stay here. Like, I feel like it's not like what it was in New Jersey where we knew everyone. Like,
Mm.
I feel like this outsider." And he's like, just hang out. So I came out of the bathroom and I met this amazing physician who started talking to me about this lifestyle medicine advancement group that she started with another doctor locally. And I had no idea what she was talking about, but here's this nice female doctor. She's got her kids running around, and she invited me to this meeting at her house where it was like a potluck and everybody brings food and it was healthful food. It was vegan food, which I was pretty much that was my dietary pattern. I said, "Wow, this is so nice." So I went to this woman's house and I met like 40 other physicians and other local healthcare providers and practitioners of all different disciplines, and I felt really at home. And they were all talking about all these really healthful behaviors, their food, their exercise, their sleep, and so on. I'm like, who are these people? I love these people. I don't understand what they're talking about. I went home and I Googled, because that's what we do, right? And I'm like, what is lifestyle medicine? And I found the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And I found that there is a subspecialty of medicine, a rather newer, last, decade and a half or so, that focuses on getting to the root cause of symptoms, illnesses, and diseases, and implementing 6 key pillars of behaviors, which fall in the categories of stress management,
Mhm.
healthful nutrition, adequate exercise, nourishing sleep, social connection, and avoidance of risky substances. And I just said, wow, like this is how I live my life. This is what
Mhm.
I've also been educating others in. And all of these people are board certified in this area. I felt like a kid in a candy shop. I felt like I was home. I'm like, this is home for me. One of the physicians that was at that meeting is a cardiologist, and he was talking about how he was leaving his position at the major hospital here, that he had started all types of amazing programs, the Spectrum program, the Ornish program, Perdican, all of these programs for his cardiac patients. And this new hospital system came in and wiped out all his programs. And he's like, "I'm out of here. I'm a lifestyle medicine physician. I can't practice medicine this way." So I kind of had a crush on this guy professionally as he was speaking. And I got up the nerve we had an email list and I emailed him and I said, "Hey, you want to have lunch? I really loved all you were talking about and I want to talk about collaborating." And he agreed and we met for lunch and he said, "The American College of Lifestyle Medicine needs to know about you. I have worked with them in the past and I know that one of the heads of education, I'd love to introduce you." He connected me and ACLM, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, then welcomed me with open arms and said, "We are strong in the other pillars of education, but not the stress management pillar. Would you come on as our faculty, lead faculty, and subject matter expert in stress management and help us write the next board review manual in this section?" And I'm like, kidney candy shop again. Oh my gosh, I am home. So excited. And so that was my introduction into lifestyle medicine. That's how I got involved as becoming faculty for the board review manual, which just published last year,
Nice.
proudly so. And that is how I was introduced to it and asked to sit for the boards. And since I was studying it to write my chapter, I dove in excitedly
Mhm.
and studied for the boards and learned that there was a lot I didn't know. That I
Mhm.
thought I knew so much, I only knew a tiny bit of all these different areas of behaviors. And I took the boards and passed the boards and continued my education in self, my education in others, educating physicians on these pillars of lifestyle medicine. So, weaving all of that nutrition,
Mhm.
exercise, sleep, social connection, avoidance of risky substances, I say slash escapes with stress management, body
Mm.
based mindset, the whole thing in one place. That's
Nice.
my story.
Perfect. Um, w- how do, I guess, busy clinical physicians engage in six things? Like that's a lot of other things. Now, of course, we're all eating already, right? And we're getting as
Well,
much sleep as we maybe hopefully can, but it's different. I'm thinking that like of course we could commit all day every day to the six pillars of goodness, of good lifestyle, but how do we fit that into busy? How does that kind of look when we pop it into the clinical physician or clinician working? What do you see? What do you think works well for them?
yeah, well, first we do an assessment because not everybody is having difficulty with all those areas,
Mm, hmm.
right? So I have an assessment, a short assessment that I have them fill out. Sometimes they come to me for like, I can't sleep, so
Hmm.
sometimes it's verbalized, but other times it's, we do an assessment and we take a look and we see where are you okay, if any, and if any place, where do you need help? Where do you want to focus?
Hmm.
And we can't do everything at once. My
Hmm.
motto is 1% better every day. How can you be just 1% better today than you were yesterday? And so we start to pick a focus and we begin there. And an important set of tools that I learned through lifestyle medicine is how to create effective behavior change. So we learn through lifestyle medicine how to create some effective behavior changes. And I've taken that model and added in the life coaching model to create a 5-step process to making effective long-lasting behavior changes. It is overwhelming to think that you have to take on all of this at once, which is why I'm
Mm.
here. I'm here to deconstruct it, to create small bites of changes, to help the behaviors shift in a way that works into people's schedules and to make it not overwhelming and actually enjoyable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that 1% better, like if you, I know if you're in the throes of badness, you don't want just 1%, you want like a really big step, but it's at least achievable 1% better, right? So considering adding in or changing up kind of every area can feel like it's never going to happen, impossible.
Right. Yeah, it's like anything, right? It's like anything. When you have a whole bunch of tasks, you get nothing done.
Mm,
You have to focus on one thing at a time. And that's what I do. And it's really
mhm,
guided by the clinician. Like what's important to you? We go through again where you are. What needs the most help? What are you most interested in focusing on? Or
mm,
a couple things. But it doesn't have to be hard when someone's guiding you and helping you and creating that structure so you don't have to think about it.
mm. What do you think it was that finally made you pay attention enough to say, I'm doing that yoga thing without having, because you said you didn't know what you were going to get from it, but you said, that's the, I'm going to do it. And you actually did. So what do you think that was?
Yeah, I kept seeing the faces of my physician friends that died, and I was having a lot of nightmares. And I think when I started to have the dark thoughts, that was really what caused me to pivot. I looked at my little kids who I adored and my amazing husband, and it was terrifying. You know, We are strong. We are resilient. I could handle any physical symptom that you threw at me that I was experiencing. The dark thoughts, that was what really got me. I think it was when they started to show themselves, I I knew that I was no longer able to do this on my own
Mm.
and that I needed help. And I wasn't sure what that was at first, but I needed to keep seeking help. They say that it's not lack of resources, it's lack of resourcefulness. And so we need to be resourceful. And instead of saying, I can't get better, it's how can I get better? And really changing that language, which is also eventually what life coaching helped me do. But changing that language of how we talk to ourselves and seeing ourselves as the one to find those resources. Keep looking, keep asking, keep searching until you get the answers. They're out there. As they say,
Mm.
there are no problems, only solutions, right? So we just have to find the answers. But it really was the dark thoughts that terrified me, and not wanting to do this to my family, and not wanting to leave. I wasn't ready to leave. I really wasn't. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. And so you went off to this yoga day or evening. How long did the yoga session last for? And was it like theory and practice, or did you just get put on the floor? Like, how did it all work?
It was really informal, which I also liked.
Hmm.
Again, this was just sort of an introductory kind of kind of thing. And this professor slash owner of the studio was really smart. She knew how to engage, and she knew how to satisfy left brains. There were a bunch of us left brainers in there at the time. It was about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and it was really informal where we could ask questions. And so she was
Hmm.
weaving in a lot of the science behind what was going on while she was teaching and inviting us to notice. It wasn't some really scary someone at the front of the room for an hour, saying stuff I didn't understand. I'm following along, not sure what I'm doing. It was taught in a way that I never forgot, because that's how I like to teach as well. Keep it informal, allow people to ask questions, give people a chance to feel and experience, and let people know that it's okay if they don't like something
Hmm.
that they're experiencing. And most people think you have to do like an hour class. I have deconstructed a lot of the concepts and tools into a matter of seconds or minutes. So when you asked before about time, I created an online program that have little video and audio files that even the busiest of person can do something in a few minutes each day. So that's another myth. Oh, I don't have time. I don't have an hour. I don't have an hour and a half. And I'm like, well, do you have a few seconds? Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just try to make it easier, manageable within the busy, so you can start to have some relief. I love this. Robyn, how do people find you if they're interested in working with you?
Yeah. So my website is stressfreemd.net. And it's there that if you want to get started with some stress relief tools, I have four very short, 5 minutes each, videos that you can practice along with me for free. You'll also find a link to my podcast, the Stress Free MD podcast, where I teach stress free snacks. I have one on one coaching. I do group coaching with a colleague of mine, Melissa Sunderman, focused on lifestyle medicine education.
Mhm.
We have a retreat in Africa coming up in January if you're interested, which includes seeing me. And stay tuned for my book, which is coming out in September. Feeling stressed is optional. And if you want to hop on for a free introductory chat, I'd love to chat with you.
Love it. Was there anything we didn't discuss today that you wanted to discuss before we close up today?
I would say that if you are shoulding yourself, wipe the should off. I should know this stuff. I should already be doing this stuff. Having those statements, shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you don't know what you don't know. And so I invite you to give yourself some grace and to think of today as a new day, and just to be open to learning and recognize that The only person that can really help you is you. And to not beat yourself up for not doing these things to date, that the information is out there, whether it be through me or other people. And you just start by starting 1% better every day. That's all.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Robyn. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye, guys. Thank you for being part of the Sustainable Clinical Medicine podcast. If you'd like to learn more or join us to help you get home with today's work done, go to chartingcoach.ca. There you'll find all the information on the premier Lifetime Access Charting Champions program that is helping physicians get home with today's work done, with all the proven tools, support, and community you need to create time for your life outside of medicine. We would love to see you there. Until next time, thanks for listening.